Hey guys, what is up? This is Tamer from ITT, I Talk Tech, giving you all your latest news, reviews, and how-tos for everything tech. Today guys, we're going to do another episode of Tech Talks. In this video, we're going to be talking about whether to buy a Mac or a PC, Windows OS, Mac OS. Alright, so I've been getting a couple messages and emails lately asking me, which kind of computer do you prefer? I'm looking to buy a new computer. Which computer do you want? Which computer should I buy? Mac or a PC or a tablet even? So I'm going to try to help you narrow down those different types of computers. Now let's just start with computers itself. You have a couple categories of computers. You have tablets, you have desktop computers, and you have laptops. Now a tablet is great for anyone that wants to do minimalistic processing power, so just surfing the internet, watching videos on YouTube and stuff like that, and just basic apps and stuff like that. You can have like a notepad that you can do documents on, but you won't be able to have programs like Microsoft Office or heavy processing powers like video editors or photo editors. But if you're one of those people that like only surf the web a couple times a day and stuff like that, and you just watch videos and stuff like that and listen to music, a tablet is perfect for you. If you guys are looking for a little bit more process hungry, then you want to get a desktop or a laptop. Those are much more processor hungry, and they're much faster, and they usually take more hard tasks like photo editing and video editing and other programs that you would use, software and programs. Now since we took out tablets, now we're going to focus on desktops and laptops. Now for a desktop is not mobile. You're not going to be taking your desktop to your car or to the Starbucks just to use it. All right, it's not portable. It's going to stay in one place, and that's going to be where it is until you move to a different area, and then it's going to stay in that place. You're not going to be moving it all around and going on vacation with it or something like that. A laptop is a different scenario. You get processing power with portability. You can take a laptop almost anywhere. You can take it to Starbucks. You can take it to with you in the car, with you to your work. It all depends on how you like your portability. You're going to have to depend on what you're going to use the computer for. If it's going to stay in an office and that's it, then you want to get a desktop. Or do you want to have a portable, but also to become a kind of a desktop in a way? You might want to think about getting a laptop and a monitor, an external monitor. This way you can have a bigger screen, like a 27-inch screen, connected to a laptop, and you still get like a desktop quality for it. So now that we narrowed down whether you should get a desktop or laptop based on portability of your needs, we're going to talk a little bit about actual OSs. So we have two OSs, Windows OS and Mac OS. Now there is Linux, but you're not going to buy a computer that's already pre-installed with Linux. You might want to install that by yourself. But we're going to narrow down. We're going to take out Linux for right now and just focus on the two major operating systems, Windows OS and Mac OS. Alright guys, so with operating systems comes different terminology, so I thought we should just get terminology set down straight so you just don't get confused when you're computer shopping. Alright, so a PC is a computer that runs on Windows OS. So Windows 7, Windows Vista, Windows 8, Windows 8.1, those are all PCs. A Mac is not a PC. A Mac can run Windows if you know how to use Boot Camp or use Parallels desktop software. A PC is any computer that runs Windows. Now, an Ultrabook is a type of computer that is ultra thin. So an Ultrabook is extremely thin. They have SSDs in them to make them thin, but these also are PCs, so these run Windows. So a MacBook Air, which is really thin but runs Mac OS, is still not an Ultrabook. It is not a PC, it's not an Ultrabook, it's a Mac. A Mac is anything that runs Mac OS, OS 10 in specific. So a Mac, for example, MacBook Air runs anything from like a Mac OS 10 Mountain Lion or Mac OS 10 Mavericks or Mac OS 10 Snow Leopard if you're going to go that old. But a Mac runs Mac OS, and that's fine. So, going down into specifications right now, we're going to leave software at the end, such as OS and the OS features in it. So going down to specifications, we have processors in computers, we have RAM in computers, we have hard drives, and we have display screens. Display screens are important, but they're not usually the most deciding factor. There are really nice screens out right now for a computer. We have 1080p screens right now. We have beautiful, gorgeous ones that are over 1080p. We have Retina displays, for example, on Macs and stuff like that. So displays have been really nice, and you can find a really good display for not that big of a price anymore. Now going down into other things, for example, processors. Processors are the meat of the computer. These are the heart, and this is what will give it that oomph in it. Alright, so processors, they vary. Now if you go to a regular Best Buy or something like that, and you find a $300 computer, and you see that's running like Intel Pentium from like 2006, and you use it, and you think it's pretty fast, it's most likely not going to be fast after a week or a month of usage. What you see in Best Buy or on those computer shelves that have the PC already set up is you're seeing a computer that has nothing added to it. It's factory stored, and it has no software, nothing in it. So what you're seeing is a computer that has no software, no programs in it. It's running smooth because there's nothing on it. Once you start adding things to it, it's not going to be fast anymore. It's going to slow down dramatically because the processor can't handle it. So some really good processors to keep in mind while you're shopping. Intel Core i3s, i5s, and i7s. Those are really fast ones, especially i7. i7's a killer. Alright, if you can find a good machine that's within your budget that has an i7, get it. It's fast. Alright, we also have AMD processors, and some good ones to look out for are like the A series or the FX series, such as A8s, A10s, I mean, not 810s, and the FX series. Those are really good processors. But I'm not an expert in AMD processors, so just look up some reviews on it, see what other people think of it, and you make your deciding factor on that. Now, with processors come cores. Now, when you're shopping, you're going to come up upon words like quad core or dual core or octa core in some cases. Now, what these mean are, just think of a processor as a brain. These different cores are like brains. Now, the more brains you have, the faster and the more processing it's going to be able to take in, and the faster it's going to be able to do tasks. So, a dual core it was good before a couple years ago. Now it's kind of been outdated because there are more heavy quad core processors right now. Quad core is what you want to look for now in these times. You can get quad core for not that much of a not a big price tag. Now if you want a big processor, you can go for octa cores. There's a bunch of them. You can go for 6 cores. This is also good, but they're going to cost you more money. Now when you go into 6 cores and 8 cores, you're heading into the thousands direction. So if your budget's less than 1,000, you're going to want to stick to quad core or even dual core in some cases. But in general, the more cores you have, the better your computer's going to perform. Now when we're going next with RAM for specifications. Now for RAM, the more RAM you have, the more it's going to perform. Just like processors, the more cores you have, the better it's going to perform. But for RAM, you want to stick to consumer level unless you're doing video editing. If you're doing some really heavy tasks, Photoshop, Premiere, Final Cut Pro for Macs, then you want to upgrade that RAM to an even higher one. A standard one for regular users is about 4 gigs of RAM. That's a good baseline. That's a good way just to get started with a computer, and it's going to be fast and it's going to be good. Now if you need to do photo editing on that, it's not going to be as helpful. It's going to slow down a little bit. You won't be able to do multiple things at the same time. A good one for some beginner video editors or intermediate video editors is 16. Some PCs can go up to 32 and 64 on Macs also. So you decide the level of intensity that you're going to push this computer to. If you're going to push it really to its maximum, go for 32, 64. If you're going to go for intermediate, medium level processors, you want to go for 16 or 8. And if you're just a consumer, just go for 4 gigabytes of RAM. Basic use, you'll still get a lot out of it. Right? Now the next one is hard drive. Hard drives are what's going to most prominently decide how fast your computer is going to go. Now you also have processors to determine that, but I think SSDs and HDDs are the prominent factors in your speed. Now an HDD is a regular hard drive that has spinning disks in it. So if that there's rotating disks in it, so there's moving parts in it. It's more prominent to fail because there are moving disks in there. While an SSD has no moving disks, it's flash memory, and so it has more durable. So the thing with HDDs and SSDs is that there's a big speed difference between them. HDDs, they are slow. Now, I know a lot of you are looking through the computers that you want to buy, and you see that they have an HDD. HDD is fine. It's fast. It's not super fast. It's not slow. It's just fast. It's just good. It's good for regular people. SSDs are killer beasts. Now, these things will take so much and to do it in seconds. Like for example, I have an SSD on my Mac. Now, this is such a killer SSD. I can put a gigabyte file onto my desktop in about 5 seconds. If I had an HDD like my PC desktop I have right in front of me, that might take a minute or 2 minutes or a little bit even more than that, based on how big the file is and stuff like that. HDDs will also determine the boot, how long it takes to turn on your computer as well. HDDs will maybe take a minute or 2 minutes. SSDs for my computer takes about 15 seconds. So it's a big difference. So deciding factor is hard drive. There's also with HDDs and SSDs the price and how much storage you want. If you want big storage and you're under a budget, you can get maybe a terabyte for maybe $150 or $200 for HDDs. A terabyte, now that's about 1,000 gigabytes. Now, if you're looking for a terabyte for SSD, you're thinking about maybe a couple $1,000s for that compared to like the 150. So if you're thinking about big storage, go for HDD. If you're thinking about maybe a small storage, 250, 128, even 500, then you might want to go to SSDs, all based on your budget, all based on how much you can afford for this computer. Now, Intel has been coming out with these Haswell processors. Alright, and these Haswell processors, they have tremendous battery life. They have such low power saving energy in them. The Haswell chips in general save you a lot of power and save you a lot of battery. Now, it doesn't cut down on the power. Haswell chips are really strong chips. They're at the top of the line, whether you get i3, i5, or 7. They are still super fast, but they're energy efficient. So these last you for a long time. A lot of Haswell computers right now that are being integrated have tremendous battery life. They have about 10 hours, 11 hours of battery life. So with these Haswell chips, you're going to get really good battery life out of them. For example, my MacBook Air and the MacBook Pros that recently got released. My MacBook Air gets about 14 hours of battery life, and it's a 2013 variant, so it's going to have that Haswell chip, and it runs for about 14 hours, and I personally saw 14 hours go by on my MacBook, and it took it real good, and it kept the power so high that I never saw any slowness of it. I never saw any lag of the power. It was just kept pulling at full speed, and it lasted for 14 hours, and I was like, wow. I was in astonishment that they could last that long under that much power. And I do like a bunch of editing on my videos. I do a lot of video editing because of my YouTube channel, and so it lasted. And I'm really happy that I have a Haswell chip in my computer. So that's one thing to look at when you're buying a computer and you're trying to decide what chip to get. If it has a Haswell chip, then that's a really definitely good thumbs up for you to get it. Now let's also talk about price. Macs and PCs have different prices in them. Now, you can have a different type of Mac. You can have a Mac Mini, or you can have a MacBook Pro, a MacBook Air, and a Mac Pro. Now, Mac Minis are the most inexpensive computer that they have, other than the iPad. But I'm not talking about tablets right now. I'm just talking about regular desktops and laptops. Mac Minis are the smallest, and because they're really mini, and then they're the most cost inefficient. Now, these don't always have the best processors, things in them, but you can always upgrade them for more of the price. So these can go around $1,000 if you're gonna get the right processors and get the good process off them. But I think their starting point's around $600, $700, I believe. I haven't really checked it because I have never really been interested in a Mac Mini, because I believe that you can just get a laptop for that same price and you'll get portability and speed all at the same time. So that's a choice for you. You can look into the Mac Mini and see if that's what you want. Now, for PCs, you have a variety of PCs. Now, Windows went all over the place, and a bunch of manufacturers have Windows OS on their computers, and this allows for different price varieties. Windows PCs can range from $200 to a couple $1,000, depending on the specs on them. The ones at $200 will be trashy quality. They'll have maybe about a gigabyte of RAM, 2 gigabytes of RAM, maybe 100 gigabytes of HDD, and then a slow processor that's from 2002, probably. So it's not going to be a really fast computer. And now you also have those Ultrabooks, where you have this really powerful gaming desktop machines that are like i7, maybe a terabyte of SSDs and like 62 gigabyte of RAM.